Hey everyone, welcome back to Yusuf Reacts, where we dive into all things movie madness. Today, we're talking about Furious 7, the 2015 action-packed thrill ride that's got all the fast cars, insane stunts, and, of course, the family feels we've come to love in the Fast and Furious franchise. Buckle up, folks, because this one's going to be a wild ride. Furious 7 is the 7th installment in the beloved franchise. And it brings back all the favorites: Brian, Letty, Roman, Tej, and the rest of the crew. But this time, the stakes are higher, the stunts are crazier, and the emotional depth is deeper than ever. So let's break down what makes this movie such a blockbuster. The movie picks up after Fast and Furious 6 and gives us a new villain to worry about: Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham. Shaw is on a mission of revenge, coming after our heroes for what they did to his brother in the last movie. And from the moment we meet him, you know he's not someone to mess with. One of the best parts of Furious 7 is how it ups the ante on every front. The crew isn't just racing anti-military skydiving cars out of planes, chasing high-tech devices, and facing off with military-grade helicopters. And speaking of helicopters, let's talk about that crazy scene where the team drops their cars from a plane. This is one of the most iconic stunts in the entire series. The visuals are stunning, the adrenaline is high, and it's a reminder of just how far these movies will go to keep us entertained. But it's not just about the action. Furious 7 also has some of the most heartfelt moments in the series, especially with Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor. As many of you know, Paul Walker tragically passed away during the filming, and the team had to find a way to give him a respectful send-off. And I think we can all agree they did it beautifully. The final scene, where Dom and Brian part ways, is just so emotional. It's a perfect tribute to Paul and reminds us of the core theme of these movies: family. That ending montage, with Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth's "See You Again" playing, hits so hard. It's a genuine moment that makes you reflect on the bond these characters share, not just on screen, but off-screen too. But let's not forget about the insane action set pieces. Dom and Deckard facing off in an epic street fight, Letty coming to the rescue, Roman being, well, Roman. The movie keeps you glued to your seat from start to finish. One of my favorite action moments is the Dubai skyscraper jump highs, the one where Dom and Brian literally fly a car between two skyscrapers. This scene is just peak Fast and Furious, unbelievable, over the top, and totally awesome. You've got Vin Diesel's stone-cold seriousness, and Paul Walker's perfect comic timing. Together, they make this sequence unforgettable. Deckard Shaw seeks revenge against Dominic Toretto and his family for his comatose brother. Dominic and his crew thought they'd left the criminal mercenary life behind. They'd defeated international terrorist Owen Shaw and went their separate ways. But now, Shaw's brother, Deckard Shaw, is out killing the crew one by one for revenge. Worse, a Somalian terrorist called Jacquard and a shady government official called Mr. Nobody are both competing to steal a computer terrorism program called God's Eye that can turn any technological device into a weapon. Toretto must reconvene with his team to stop Shaw and retrieve the God's Eye program, while caught in a power struggle between the terrorist and the United States government. In the opening scene set in London, England, Deckard Shaw Jason Statham stands by his brother Owen's Luke Evans' bedside as he lays in a coma, badly scarred and crippled after being ejected from the plane in the last Fast and Furious film. Shaw promises his brother that he will settle the score. He leaves the room and goes out into the rest of the hospital, with bodies everywhere. The building continues to burn and crumble around him. Meanwhile, Vin Diesel drives Letty Michelle Rodriguez to a racetrack in the California desert where hundreds of people from their neighborhood gather for race wars, something that Dom and Letty invented when they were younger. Letty goes up for the race and flies past her opponent as his car breaks down on the track. All the patrons cheer her on after she crosses the finish line, followed by Iggy Azalea showing up out of nowhere to congratulate Letty. The excitement of the others is too overwhelming for Letty, and she takes the car and drives away. Dom later finds her that night at the cemetery, staring at her own tombstone. Dom takes a sledgehammer to smash it, but Letty stops him because she thinks the person she used to be is no longer who she is to Dom, and she doesn't want to hurt him for that. She bids Dom goodbye. Brian Paul Walker is adjusting to life as a minivan driving dad, as his son Jack is now old enough for school. Even his wife Mia Jordana Brewster, Dom's sister, acknowledges that he has had trouble settling down this way. That evening, Hobbs Dwayne Johnson continues to do some overnight work while Elena Elsa Pataky is getting ready to go out. Hobbs hands her a letter of recommendation that she asked him for. He wishes her luck in her pursuits. Hobbs then sees Shaw in his office hacking into his computer. Hobbs attempts to arrest him as he is gathering the information on the crew that took down his brother. Shaw battles Hobbs through the whole floor, they smash each other through glass walls and coffee tables, while Hobbs manages to get a good chokeslam down on Shaw. Elena returns for backup as Shaw gets a grenade out. He tosses it towards the detectives, forcing Hobbs to run to Elena as the grenade explodes, sending them both out the window where they land, Hobbs first, on a van. Elena is unharmed. In the office, it is shown that Shaw was looking for Han Sung-kan. Dom visits Mia at her home as Brian is getting Jack ready for school. Outside their house is a large package. Mia tells Dom that she is having another child, but she hasn't told Brian for fear of how he'd react to more changes. Dom gets a call from Shaw, listening to his message after killing Han from the end of the previous film. Dom realizes there's trouble, and he grabs Mia as the package explodes massively, destroying the whole house. Jack is safe in the minivan, though his parents rush to him in a panic. Dom follows Elena to Hobbs's hospital room. He tells Dom who Shaw is, including his history in the Special Forces, where he was turned into a human killing machine. Hobbs asks Dom to promise him he will take Shaw down for good. Dom agrees. Meanwhile, Brian sends Mia and their son to hide out in the Dominican Republic until this thing with Shaw is taken care of. He promises Mia that he will return as long as they are safe. Dom flies to Tokyo to bring Han back for a proper burial. He meets with Sean Boswell Lucas Black, Han's friend from the third film Fast and Furious 3, Tokyo Drift. After the two have their race, Sean gives him the only things they could find from Han's car, a picture of Jaceel and a cross necklace. Back in California, the gang gathers for Han's funeral, joined by Tej Ludacris and Roman Tyrese Gibson. Dom spots a car suspiciously driving near the funeral. He follows it, learning it is Shaw. They crash into each other in a tunnel, and they briefly fight until a team of agents comes in, giving Shaw a chance to escape. Their leader, a shadowy agent known only as Mr. Nobody, Kurt Russell, brings Dom with him and gathers Brian, Tej, Roman, and finally Letty to work together on a mission. A hacker known only as Ramsey has been captured by a terrorist leader named Mose Jakand Jimin Hounsu. Because he is pursuing something Ramsey helped develop called God's Eye, which is a surveillance system that can spot anybody from anywhere in the world. Using this, Dom can locate Shaw. The guys come up with a plan to infiltrate the bus that is carrying Ramsey, while Dom asks Tej to help him put armor on one car. The plan involves the five dropping from a jet in their cars and carefully land close to their target. Roman gets cold feet, prompting Tej to pull the shootout on him and sucking him out of the plane. The other for land close to the bus and break in. Jakand's men shoot at the team. Brian hops on the bus and fights off the guards. He finds Ramsey, a young woman Natalie Emanuel in her cell, and has her jump off the bus and onto the hood of Dom's car for safety. He then dukes it out with a minion named Keat Tony Ya, who is a tough fighter. In the madness, the driver of the bus is accidentally shot. Keat locks Brian on the bus as he gets out. The bus slides toward the edge of a cliff. Brian climbs out and manages to run off the bus and onto Letty's car as she arrives in time to grab him. Meanwhile, Dom and Ramsey encounter Shaw, leading them both through the woods. Roman appears and knocks Shaw off the road. However, Jakand and his team find Dom. Before they can get him, he drives his car off a cliff, yet he and Ramsey miraculously survive. The team revives Ramsey, who tells them that she gave God's eye to a friend of hers in Abu Dhabi. They all travel there and meet this person, Safar Ali Faisal, who says he sold God's eye to a prince. The team goes undercover to a party that the prince is throwing. Dom and Brian find that God's eye is in a car. Letty ends up fighting 3 guards and the prince's chief bodyguard Kara Ronda Rousey. Kara alerts the guards that there are intruders, keeping Tej and Ramsey out of their systems. Dom and Brian drive the car out of there before the gates shut the place down. Shaw comes out and tries to shoot at Dom, until he drives out of the building and through the next one. Dom discovers that the brakes are out, forcing him and Brian to jump to the next building. The two jump out of the car and pull God's eye out before the car slides out and crashes to the ground below. With God's eye, the team learns that Shaw is hiding out in an abandoned factory outside the city. After tracking him there, they see that he has a lot of backup from Jakand. The team evades gunfire, when Mr. Nobody gets shot in the chaos. Dom carries him out, and Jakand gets his hands on God's eye. Mr. Nobody calls for medical assistance, and tells Dom that he will be leaving him. The team knows that it's time to end it with Shaw once and for all. They decide to take the fight back to the streets of their hometown in Los Angeles. Brian calls Mia to tell her he loves her in case he doesn't make it back. Mia tells him that they're having a little girl. Brian then promises to come back to her. Tej and Roman take Ramsey with them while they try and hack God's eye to prevent Jakand from finding Ramsey. Dom finds Shaw and lures him to a parking lot where they have their final showdown. They have a street fight, dueling with wrenches and pipes. Meanwhile, Jakand, in an armored stealth Black Hawk helicopter, sends a flying armored drone to find Ramsey. They end up shooting down an electrical tower, which catches Hobbs's attention after watching it on the news. He announces Daddy's gotta go to work and breaks off the cast on his arm and then gears up. Ramsey gets switched under the bridge and goes with Letty while Brian tries to find a new spot to hack God's eye. He encounters Keith again and kills him when he hooks him up to a weight and pushes him down an elevator shaft. The drone chases after Letty and Ramsey, nearly getting them until Hobbs rides in on an ambulance and destroys it by crashing into it with the ambulance off the freeway ramp. Hobbs exits the totaled ambulance, shaken but still alive. They succeed in the hack, and Jakand is furious. He and his men locate Dom and Shaw still fighting on the roof of the parking garage. They shoot a missile at the lot, causing the ground to break beneath Shaw's feet. Dom stomps on the concrete and drops Shaw through the lot. Jakand continues shooting at Dom as he drives away, but Hobbs shoots back. Dom grabs a bag of grenades and drives close enough to stick them onto Jakand's chopper. Hobbs shoots at the bag, destroying the chopper and Jakand. Dom crashes his car and is pulled out by Brian and Letty. Letty begs him to stay alive and says she remembers that they got married in the Dominican Republic. That's where he gave her the cross necklace that Han had. Dom awakens and kisses Letty. Shaw is locked up for good in a maximum security black site prison. He threatens to break out, though Hobbs doubts that it will ever happen. The team watches Brian and Mia play with Jack on the beach. They realize this is where he belongs, and they look at them lovingly. Dom gets up to leave. Ramsey asks if he's gonna say goodbye. Dom says, "It's never goodbye." He drives away, only to get caught up with Brian on the road. They look at each other with a smile. We hear Dom's voice say that they both lived life at a quarter mile, and that's why they're brothers. This is cut between scenes of Brian through the whole series and everything he and Dom have been through. Dom says Brian will always be his brother. The two continue driving until they finally part ways at a fork in the road, with Brian driving into the sunset. The film closes with the text, "For Paul." I mean, who thinks of this stuff? I have no idea, but I am so glad they do. Furious 7 stands out because it's not just another high-octane movie, it's a tribute to friendship, loyalty, and family. It's about continuing the ride, even when things get tough. And for fans of the franchise, it's a reminder of why we fell in love with these characters in the first place. Sure, it's got fast cars, crazy stunts, and villains with bad attitudes, but at its heart, it's about that Bond family. So, what did you think of Furious 7? Did the skyscraper jump blow your mind? Did the final farewell make you shed a tear? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a ride with us here at Yusof Reacts. Stay fast, stay furious, and remember family is everything. Until next time, see you all down the road.